You are now tuned into the sounds of what black men like. Got Malik in the building.
Brooklyn.
Got Willie P in the building. Don't be scared now.
Came up from Alabama.
The #1 apex in the world. I know there's something absolutely unique about these guys.
Legendary.
Y'all know what this is. This is Mr. No Cap. World famous.
Look, nobody from Baltimore can offend me.
You're now tuned into the sounds of what black men like. Welcome back to What Black Men Like, the Black Man's Lifestyle Podcast. This is yours truly, Mr. No Cap. Of course, we got Willie P and Malik in the building. We're missing our co-host, Brittany Burner, but she'll be back on the next episode. Of course, so you know we got a special guest today. This is going to be a men's roundtable because it's all men. We got brother Jerome in the building. I'm not even going to try to explain what he does because he does so many things. So I'm going to just let Jerome come in here and introduce himself.
So I'm originally from Florida. By trade, I started off as a software developer. And now I'm a technical project manager and owner of a nonprofit called Them to Us, as well as DCG Code and a startup company called Innovative Concepts, which is a web design and IT infrastructure company. I can't talk about every networking event. You know, some networking events, people just stand around and just beat it themselves. But with my event, I try to, that Southern, that hospitality, you just make people feel welcome. And we need events like this in order to grow our community. You know what I mean? My saying is always bridge and build. Bridge across the aisle and build up our community together. By having these events, we got the legends in our different professions. They create opportunity for people, or they, mentor or motivate or encourage people. A lot of times we say, we want to be this big time attorney, or we want to be that doctor, or whatever that looks like. But, to put a face to success, sometimes, most of the times it ignite that fire in the youngest person.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Now, taking that concept and going into kind of what we want to talk about, starting off, coming up in this world as a young black man, you had to plant your flag somewhere and be like, this is what I'm standing on. This is what I represent. And then you kind of want that to align with your business brand. So how did you develop a personal brand? And then how did that develop into an actual brand that we see today, doing these events and doing what you're doing?
And the reality of it is, we all really trying to find ourselves and find our niche and find what works for us and find what we want to be known as in this world and find what we want people to respect us for in this world. And I can remember so many different transitions of who you see me as. At one point, before I was 15 to 17, I want to be recognized as a thug. I had a mouthful of gold, dreads in my hair, mouthful of gold, tattoos everywhere. And then at 17, I went to the military and I want to be recognized as the hardest soldier in the military. So, I changed my game up. Toward the end of my military career, I want to be noted as a personal trainer. So I got deep into fitness, and now I'm more in the professional world. And now I want to elevate that as well. You know what I mean? But everything should ultimately go down the path of who you want to be identified as for the long run. The reality of it, your brand builds trust. And I'm not talking about just your professional brand. I'm talking about your personal brand. What people see you as a person is how they see you as a business.
That's a big fact. If they like you, if they buy into who you are as a person, they'll buy pretty much anything you sell. Malik, how did you develop your personal brand?
I think this is a profound question as an African American, one, and as an African American male. I think, especially speaking to what Jay was mentioning, he's changed and grown and evolved so much. Since I met you guys, we can attest that all black men are not thugs. We come from various different walks of life. I've had to, growing up in Brooklyn, poor, growing up around the projects on food stamps, I was not inside, right? So that behavior, my brand, as far as a survival tactic, is not what it is today. So in college, it's not the same brand the brand that I had is not who I am today. But I think as a combination, it's still me, but I'm layered. I have more layers to myself. And I think it's helped me to be more experienced and be a little bit more advanced and survive as a black person. I think we don't have the opportunity to be one thing. We have to be one of many things. whether corporate or professional jobs, we're not gang banging at work. We're accountants. We're accountants,
I'll be
doctors,
wanting to sometimes.
lawyers.
Sometimes I'll be wanting to gang bang at work, but it's cool. I gotta relax. I gotta
The,
relax.
the NBA young boy comes on. You might want to Jay Murray.
I'll be wanting to Jay Moran sometimes, but
But I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? We've all evolved to a certain extent, right? The ones that hasn't, based upon where they came from, probably are not as successful. But we all have to evolve to survive.
so if you don't evolve your personal brand, you won't survive. Jerome, you had something to say?
I don't think you won't survive. I mean, I got siblings, a lot of siblings, and sometimes you look at them and they just seem stuck in life. And they're surviving, but they ain't making no motion. You know what I mean?
They ain't
So,
living. They're not living.
I've struggled with that viewpoint for years, and I saw something, I think it's Jordan Peterson. He had said, a homeless person is surviving. I'm stressed with life problems, work, etc., mortgage, light bill, girlfriend, and this homeless person is sleeping on the concrete with a smile on his face. And I'm envious because he's at peace. He's stressful, but you know what? He is surviving to at the very least. But I think
That's a great, you know what? That's a great point. I'm glad Jerome said that because that was a great caveat. You think about people that we may not outwardly think that are evolving their personal brand, but for them, the simple things are what make them happy. Like a homeless man on the street, just waking up one day and not having to fight with another homeless person over a spot under the bridge. Maybe that's a good day for him. But on the outside looking in, when we think about evolving, we think about a lot of us thinking about material gain or what you can accumulate, but being able to accumulate more inner peace or more inner happiness, I guess, is the real goal. You got people in your family that they ain't they ain't thriving, but they surviving. But Jerome, when you see those people, do you kind of just accept them for who they are? Or do you be like, damn, you could do so much better than what you're doing?
I've learned a long time ago, love them for who they are. I mean, one thing about it, you can tell a kid, a grown man, every day, don't touch that eye, and they will touch that eye, whether that eye is a stove or whether that eye is that Molly, whether that eye is that cocaine, whether that eye is going to work, being late every day and jacking up on them jobs. At the end of the day, you just got to let people be who they are. But the biggest lesson that they learn is by your own deed. How even when I turn up on Thursday for my networking events, I get up on Friday and I'm gainfully employed, you know what I mean? And I'm producing. So I can show you better than I can tell you.
Facts. Now, move this conversation into, okay, you've established a personal brand. Now you got to figure out, okay, who's my competition? Professionally and personally, like, who am I competing with? When did you start to figure out who are my competitors? Who are the people that I'm striving to be like? When did you start to figure that out? And what do you even think about the idea of competition?
I think competition is healthy. I think it encourages growth. It encourages development, encourages a self-analysis. I mean, and it makes you really think out the decisions, the choices that you make. Because ultimately, like after a while of doing something, it just gets old. You know what I mean? But if you have a competitor, now you're like, okay, let me stay up on my thing because I don't want them to think I'm falling off. So I think competitors are healthy. And I think you grow out of certain competitions, though. For some people, they may think my competitors are events or people that are similar to me, but my competition may be getting resources that fall outside of, what I'm currently doing. I used to look at competitors as people similar to me, but my competition is someone totally different to me.
I mean, we talked about that before, like competition, confrontation. To me, these are good things depending on who you're competing with and what you're confronting. I start with Willie P. What is your viewpoint? Who is your competition?
Competition is healthy. I think competition is important, especially for young boys going into their adolescence. I think it's important for a man to be able to face competition, whatever form it may take. I think it's important because life is hard. Like, I'm not going to say that life is hard. That's cliche. I would say that, how do you understand yourself if you've never faced any type of hardship, if you've never faced any type of competition? And I think it's sad that right now we live in a world where men are being downgraded to people that have never faced any type of competition in their life. And those are the people that are the most dangerous. So I would say that for me, competition came in many forms. It would come in the form of myself, my brothers. I had 3 growing up, the streets, knowledge of the streets, what information to take in, what information to, reject, things like that. It's a competition every day to try to be better than yourself or be better than who you were on the yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Malik?
Nah, I think competition, similar to like Willie P and our guest said, competition is amazing. I think it's great. It's needed for many fronts, men and or women, right? And especially when you have a brand. The greatest companies has fell victim to not really being able to accurately assess competition and or their market. I had 2 brothers growing up as a young boy. I didn't necessarily compete against them. I kind of tested them a lot and vice versa, right? But I think competition is definitely healthy. There was someone out there on the YouTube space that just kind of says, it's best to get out there, get punched in the face a few times and punch some people in the face, get knocked down. The more times you get knocked down, the more times you get up makes you a better person. And that's not physically, but, metaphorically.
Metaphorically, right.
I've dealt with a lot of competition. And one thing I had to learn, like the people that we think usually that are our competition, most of the times are really our students, right? But we allow that quote unquote competition, that person that may be moving the way we move or doing the things we do. We allow that student, whatever form you want to call it, to sidetrack us. Then it starts to take our energy. Then it starts to take our focus. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy. And if you put your focus on a student, then the focus on the lesson that you're supposed to be teaching, then you're the loser in this situation, right? And as a businessman, as a person that's doing things and making moves, as a person in motion, we have to focus on our vision. You're a visionary, so you have to focus on your vision in order for you to put energy in that vision.
Yeah, if you get distracted by the students, then you can't teach the lesson correctly. If you apply it to a classroom, you're distracted by the kid making the noise in the back, you spend all your energy focusing on him, then the rest of the class misses the lesson that you were supposed to be teaching. I also like to think about like collaboration, like turning competition into collaboration. Seems like we do the best work when we collaborate with people that are in similar spaces as us. When we collaborate with people that have similar visions as us. Now that can be tricky navigating those relationships when you try to combine, I don't want to say combine brands, but when you try to take your brand and align it with another brand. What are some of the challenges you face when you have collaborated with other brands, and what have you learned from that process?
Collaboration is tough. You know what I mean? It's really tough because first of all, you have to have a good judgment of character when it comes to collaborating with someone. Because ultimately, like I have to judge you in the way you perform as a person in order to see myself as performing with you. Majority of the times, especially with competition, that person may or may not see you as a threat to their development. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you say you want to collaborate with someone, but you're standoffish, he's standoffish. And it's just, can I say shit show?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So, I mean, if you're not really want to be fully involved in collaboration, just don't do it. Just stick to your guns. When you collaborate with someone, you have to recognize that someone will bite your style. People will take your audience. It's just so many negative effects that could happen. And I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying just understand that may happen. You can't control that people that you collaborate with may take some of your business. What we call is if that's an acceptable loss, that's not a big deal. But a lot of times, again, the humanistic form comes out of us, and we be like, "Oh, he doing that because I did this and I gave him that," and then you just missed the whole message.
To me, if there's a lot of ego involved, a collaboration is never going to work. You're going to be overthinking things, and like you just said, it's going to be like, "Oh, this person trying to do this, trying to do that." Really, they just out here trying to figure shit out. I mean, that might be as simple as that. They're just trying to figure out their next moves. But Willie, what challenges have you faced collaborating with people? Because we collaborate all the time.
Yeah, I agree with what he said when he was talking about people finding you threatening. I found that at times people can find your popularity threatening. People can find your approach to life threatening, right? Sometimes people can find the fact that you get attention more than they do as a threat, right? And then I think the most threatening thing or most dangerous thing is to have an enemy that you don't know about, or have an enemy that you think is your friend. And I think those people are the result of a person that they don't know how to face competition. So secretly they will hate you. And when you try to collaborate with them, you may have great intentions, but in the back of their mind, they have some type of weasel or snake mentality, and they're just in the skin of a man. But if you need to try to step on me or throw salt on me just so you can get attention, fuck it, bro. You can have it. Take it as a fucking charity.
Yeah, that's a grown ass mentality to have. A lot of times as men, we just be talking shit, but there's a fine line between when somebody's joking and throwing shots and when it's like they really trying to get at you, really trying to undercut you.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. A good friend of mine, a mentor, Jadakiss, he said, I keep the grass cut so I can see the ass coming, and I light the ass up. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. I'm always on the lookout for snakes. But as far as collaboration goes, I think it's always important to set the tone of the collaboration, right? Get everything out in front. You see an opportunity, you sit somebody down, say, hey, I'm like this, I run my business like this, and kind of try to have some forethought into what could make this transaction go awry, right? Like if it's an attention seeking issue, like, hey, look, you're a bigger person than me. Like as a star, you have more fans. We're in this podcast space. We're in a lot of different spaces where sometimes we collaborate with influencers that are much bigger than us. Us cross branding, we obviously would like hope to get some of that type of influence, right? And vice versa. So it's kind of trading on maybe our insecurities and things that we are insecure on. So that way there is no underlying ulterior motive. We bring the ulterior motive to the forefront and discuss it. Some people, let's say, for example, within the space, the culture, some of us, I think, really had called it out that they just don't know how to move, right? And since some people don't know how to move as far as competition, they think how you move with competition is to be a snake. But you don't have to be a snake to be successful. You don't have to be a snake to win competition. It's best to win head on. It's best to win with no underhanded shit. You can sleep at night with no qualms because you gave that person a successful chance to go against you and vice versa. And that's how I live. That's how I
Yeah,
move.
I think one of the prime examples of somebody not knowing who they're competing with, to me, is John Morant trying to compete with dudes that's in the streets when he should be trying to compete with like LeBron James and like people on that level. Like that should be where his mind is at. When your mindset is off of who you're actually competing with. I mean, first of all, your number one competition is always in the mirror. Like if you can always try to look in the mirror and say that's the only real competition I have in the world is that person in the mirror, because you're going to constantly be challenging yourself to improve in every aspect of your life. Now, speaking of improving in different aspects of your life, when it comes to like doing business with women or catering to women, how do you navigate the space of a brand and a business as a man when you have a brand that might cater to women? Do you have a different approach when you're collaborating or doing business with women?
I mean, I'll be honest. Some people in the world that I will say that have the best work ethic are women. So
Mm-hmm.
working for them or working with them or them working for me, the best work ethic I've seen. So I don't personally have any, issues with them being at my events in my space or anything like that, or professionally speaking. I will say, a lot of times as men, and especially in professional environments, I don't think they're able to separate the two when it comes to the sexualization of a woman and just respecting their identity as what it is professionally or just in that environment where it's kind of semi-professional, semi-personal. You know what I mean? I just think that we have to be able to appreciate a person for what they bring to the table, regardless of whether they're a male or a female.
Willie P. Malik, do you have any challenges when it comes to collaborating with women? To me, I have the biggest problem collaborating with men that act like women. I don't want to say act like women, but like,
No, you said it right.
I don't want to make it sound like I'm putting down women. I'm really talking about those
What do
men.
you mean act like bitches?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Bitch ass men. I have the most problem collaborating
We at
with
war
bitch
right now with these bitch ass.
ass. Talk about it, Willie.
I would say more of the issue is, delivery and tone, right? And that's for me. I know how my delivery and my tone can be, right? And sometimes people can take that and, they get their feelings hurt, whether they're men or women. It's not my intent to try to hurt anybody's feelings. It's just, when I need to deliver the truth or say, hey, look, this is what I need you to do. The facts are the facts, and I just deliver those facts. So that's a personal issue, right? As far as like working with women or men for that matter, I just let people work where they specialize, and I don't try to micromanage them for what they're doing, especially if they're doing it for me. If I've come to this person and I've trusted them to be able to do something, then I need to be able to let go of control and let them be them. And if I can't do that, then the issue is with me. There's an unhealthy issue when it comes to the competition between men and women when people are trying to compete for attention. I think it's really a sad thing when, you have this weird crossover between men and women, and then you have that gray area that y'all were talking about where you have men that try to act like women, or you have women that try to act like men in order to get a man's attention. I don't think that's a healthy thing at all. I think it's more productive for you to just be who you are and know who you are, and don't try to steal somebody else's identity just so you can get attention. That's fucking sad.
Yeah, that's 100% facts. Malik, when it comes to your brand, personal or professional, collaborate with women is different. We have to acknowledge that it's different. I think Jerome said it's actually easier and better in some ways. So there is a difference there. And how do you navigate that?
I definitely agree. It is much easier to navigate collaboration with women. I think women are just so much more intuitive, and there's no ego.
Mhm.
Most of the time there's no ego. But there are some women that, they think the only way to engage in business or to deal with the opposite sex is to be like the opposite sex. And it just creates this weird toxic mix of where's all of this negative energy coming from if I'm just asking a question. But sometimes that could be related to competency, and that goes for the same sex as well. You get in business deals with people, it may be their first time, but they're trying to really show that they're smart, but they don't have it. And now you get into this weird situation of you're asking them questions and you're trying to follow through. They're trying to hide what they don't know, and it's really easier to say you
That you
don't
don't
know.
know. Exactly. I completely agree with that shit. Your competency is your confidence. That's if you don't know something, then just say, hey, look, I don't know what this is. Can you tell me what it is? I totally agree with that.
There's a lot of fake it till you make it. And I get it why people are that way. But when you get to certain levels of business, you got to know what the fuck you talking about, because somebody will pull your card. Then your brand is tarnished, and then it's like, oh shit, how do I, some things you can't come back from. I think we can all probably think of an example where a brand was tarnished and they never recovered.
Listen, if your brand is you're an expert, we're gonna put you in a room and we're gonna say dance. If you can't dance, you can't do these moves like you said you can. You can't speak to certain concepts like you should because you're an expert. All your credibility is lost. So that fake it till you make it is cool, but let's be on the same page that you are faking it, and I can support you in your faking it. I can support you in all the cap that you do. Make sure that you cap successfully. You're not fronted out. We all have growing pains. Kobe Bryant wasn't Kobe Bryant overnight. It took
Right.
time.
Right. I would also add that not only is it bad for the person that's faking it, also bad for the person that didn't vet them. The person that vouched for them and said, hey, look, I'm going to work with this person. Now they start to see your reputation that's tied to the person that lied.
You got to have these things in mind of how to navigate these things. And you just also got to be good on your feet. You got to be good under pressure. Jerome, can you think of an example where you had to be quick on your feet where something happened and it was like, damn, if I don't handle this the right way, this could fuck my shit up?
I'm quick on my feet every day. It's the nature of the beast. And I'm not saying that to brag. It's just when you wanna be somebody and you want to go certain places, you gotta move a certain way. You gotta be quick on your feet. Because at the end of the day, when people ask you a question, or when you stand up in front of people and you leading them in a way, or you giving them a piece of your vision, they expect you to know the ins and outs. They expect you to know, have your plan in mind and then put your plan in motion. And I had a mentor say one day, every day I walk on pins and needles. And I was like, dang, you up there and you say that? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, anybody can come along and test you. You just need to be confident in your skills. As long as you're confident, I don't care what you ask me. If I don't know, I'll say I don't motherfucking know, and that's just what it is. But I bet I know by the time we get done. I bet I know next time you see me.
I appreciate that what you're saying there. We're talking about challenges. We're talking about cross branding. I think collectively as a society, I don't think we challenge each other enough. I think it's frowned upon to challenge each other. It's like hating, right? But like Mr. No Cap, he says he's no cap, but I promise you, I test this guy every opportunity I get. It is no cap. Willie P, same thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, they test me as well. Steel sharpens steel, right? So if I'm really an eagle, I'm really made of steel, it should be no issues with us testing each other, right? And that's why before we vet individuals, if I have a friend, I'm going to network, I'm going to introduce them to somebody, I'm going to sit them down. I'm going to ask them the questions that I feel like other people may want to know. So I'm properly vetting them like, okay, so you said you do what? Where'd you go to school? How many years of experience? How did you know who? Okay. That makes sense. At least you passed the eyeball test. But as a culture, I don't think we test each other enough to prove that we are who we say we are.
I
That's
disagree
what.
a little bit. I think honestly, a lot of people are up for the challenge, but the problem is like when you call me out or you challenge me, a lot of times when you challenge me and I gave you what you was asking for in the sense that you asked me a question and I gave you an answer. Now your ego hurt because now I put you on Front Street like you tried it, but it didn't work. You know what I mean? So now I don't have any disregard to that. I laugh it off because I'm used to it. You know what I mean? Because you got people that are used to it, and you got people that just go around, ain't really accomplished shit in life. They sit around on their ass and they work bare minimum jobs. They ain't got education accolades. They don't apply themselves, but then they sit around and they want to challenge everyone, right?
Right.
And the person buck back at them and hold their ass accountable and put their feet to the fire. Now they in their feelings, and now they want to go around and spread hate. So I don't really think that we have a lack of challenging. I think we have a lot of challenging in our community. What I don't think is once you've challenged someone, and I was right about what I said, where's the you on target, you on point? It's never going to be that. It's always going to be, oh man, and he think he all that. But yet you knocked on my door with the challenge. I answered the call, and now I'm the bad guy.
When you challenge with good intentions, you get good results. But when you challenge with the objective to demean or to
The snake.
embarrass, to
Yeah.
Jerome's point, most of the challenging we have is that.
And that's a valid point. If the person has malicious intent, that's a snake. So right after you answer that question, based on how they responded to your question, if it's not a pat on the back and it's not a good job, you already know where that person sits. You put them on the other side of the fence as somebody that doesn't have good intentions. I have pure intentions. If I'm challenging you, I want to make sure you are who you say you are because I'm always networking. I may need you to do something or talk to somebody. And if I introduce you to somebody as something and you're not that person, it reflects on my judgment as a character.
Reflects on my character. Yep.
So not only you look bad, I can lose that contact. That bridge could never be like rebuilt back.
That has happened. That has happened to me, and I'm sure it's probably happened to the rest of you guys. And that's the worst shit ever. I put a piece of my reputation on the line. Now this person was a fraud, and now I've lost this connection. Now, if you're a real G, you can get it back. You know what I mean? You'll get another connection.
I think it's the type of investment that you put in it. It's also important to remember that when you're dealing with snakes, pretty much their only weapon is the venom that they spew. So most people that have a snake-like mentality, what they're going to do, they're going to try to poison your reputation. They're going to try to poison the thing that you have. And you can tell this quickly. You can tell a person's intentions by how they act. So my intention with challenging someone is to improve them. So I always have this thing to praise in public, but punish in private. I'm not going to try to correct you in front of people unless the situation warrants it. Mostly what I'm going to do, I'm going to call you into a corner and say, or when we're by ourselves and say, hey, man, look, that shit you did was fucked up. But when someone wants to try to call you out in front of people, that's not great intention. That's not a healthy challenge. I've learned from experience that some challenges, especially public challenges or ego challenges, those shits can end up with people being dead. I've seen
Yes.
plenty of people get fucking shot and stabbed in clubs because they challenged somebody's ego or they challenged them in front of their woman, put them in a position where they had to react.
Hmm.
And that's not a great thing.
I guess before we get off, I want to leave the audience with at least one tip on how to read a person's genuine intention. This can be difficult. What is a tip that you can use to thoroughly vet a person to actually get down to the nitty gritty of what their genuine intention is?
I mean, my biggest tip is just stop talking.
Facts.
And when I'm at my networking events, I
Mhm.
tell myself, just listen. Period.
Jerome, you gotta say that again, bro.
Just listen. I'm religious, so God has blessed me with so many experience. PhD working on it. Afghanistan, Iraq, different agencies, like just doing some major things, not just for myself. Going to Africa next month to receive an award for top under 40 CEOs in Africa doing things. So I'm very excited about that. Whatever. But I learned is just shut the fuck up and let other people talk. A lot of times, if you talk too damn much, you expose your hand, you're gonna lose the space game every time. I learned to just stop talking. Just let people talk. And the good thing about it is, when you let people talk, people just love to talk about themselves, and they be telling on themselves. Look, the crazy thing about it, bro, I go to the airport and I'm always flying. And you could just sit there and just people will spew the codes to the United States government at the airport. They'll tell all their business. They'll tell how they cheat on their taxes, cheat on their wife, cheat in life, white, black, it don't matter. You know what I mean? And that's why I actually learned to just listen to people. So now when I go to different events, I just listen.
Sometimes it's just the simplest teachings that you got from grandma back in the day that still apply to this very damn day. Stop talking so much.
So I agree with what he said. I think he summed it up perfectly. When stupid people want to talk, you stop talking, let them talk. The way I like to vet people is tell them to walk on two legs. All right, snakes can't do that. He'll never be able to do that shit. He will try as much as he can, but he just can't fucking do it. And I'm using that as a metaphor for saying
Metaphor, yep.
exactly for like what Malik said. Hey, test this motherfucker and see if he can actually do what he said that he can do.
Your gut always knows. Your first instinct is normally right. And when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Sometimes your ego and your mind will lead you astray, but your gut is always right. The second thing I'll say, going back to the military, but every general, every leader has a advisor, a consigliere, whatever you want to call it. Get a trusted advisor, consigliere, a person that can give you a second opinion, someone that you know is solid. And I also would say, embrace the technology that's coming out. Don't be scared. Embrace innovation because innovation is going to keep you ahead of the game. If you're trying to be forward thinking in terms of your brand, always embrace innovation. Never be scared of it. AI is going to take over the world. No, whatever we decide it's going to be is what it's going to be. So if we embrace it and we use it to our benefit, then it could actually make the world better.
One thing that we didn't touch on is work ethic. That's my thing. Your work ethic puts you in rooms that your mouth will never put you in. And your work ethic is your resume. Your resume, I read a lot of resumes. And unfortunately, a lot of people in our community, we just don't have good work ethic. Ultimately, we got to elevate that.
Well, Jerome, it's been a pleasure having you on this podcast. I want you to come in and tell people where they can find you and how they can support you.
Absolutely. Find me on Instagram. My Instagram is ZAY_ZAE. That's my personal Instagram. And then my nonprofit / networking event is the number 2, us. Thank you everyone for having me on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey, What Black Men Like, best podcast in the game. See y'all next time.